So, did they contact you? Well, I guess it's only been like a day, so.
Okay, so yeah, let me get into this real quick. This is IT career talk. Because I got some questions for you guys. So yeah, I'm going through the interview process right now with the company I've been trying to get onto for a while as a sysadmin. And I've had 2 interviews so far. So the first one was with HR. The second one was with the CIO and the, I guess, IT manager. I'm not sure what their exact title is, but my question is, so, you know, there was a few tech questions, but not nearly as many as I thought there would be. Most of the questions were about like, how do you interact with other people? What is your like problem solving methodology? And how do you approach confrontation? Things like that. And I'm just like, it makes me think maybe they had like an insane person in the position before me or something, and he just exploded. I don't know. There were so many like human resource questions when I thought there'd be like a lot more technical questions. But anyway, so my question is, um, how should I approach? Say I don't get the job, and so I have another company kind of on backup. How should I approach it? Like via the interview? Like, how do you? What do you? I know you. Some of you guys have done hiring before, so like, what do you look for when it comes to like a new tech employee and things like that? Because I've had the same job for years, so I'm not used to this kind of stuff.
Well, for me, and I have done hiring, and I've done it recently.
Mm-hmm.
I would be asking similar questions to what they were asking, because by the time an interviewee gets to me, they've gone through all the tech questions. And what I need to know as a team lead is how they're going to fit in the team. So, like, I will look at their resume and see what they do and don't know. And then I might start off the conversation by asking them a tech question here, a tech question there, just to make sure they're not full of crap.
Mm-hmm.
If they're feeding me a line of crap, that's something I need to know. I don't mind taking on a person that doesn't know a whole lot, because I'm quite willing to train them. But I need to know that they're willing to work and they're not going to be an ass about it. Which is
Yeah.
why I sometimes have trouble hiring people with a crap ton of experience, because they think they know everything and can't be guided.
So, are you looking for like humbleness and humility at least, or?
Sense of humor is actually a big one on
Oh,
my
really?
team. Yeah, because we like to joke around, we like to talk crap, and if you can't do that, you're going to burn out in my job. If you can't, laugh in the face of somebody screaming at you, then you're not going to have a good time at my job.
So, what's an example? What are some examples of some of the questions you would ask and like the answers you expect?
It would all just depend on the person. If the person is anxious, I'm going to crack a joke and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
If they laugh, if they calm down after that, then that's perfect. But specific questions, I'm not going to get into. I do remember one interview, and I've told you guys about it before, where we were transitioning from the technical interview to my portion of the interview, and the guy said, I run Linux from scratch. So what's the first thing I said? No, you don't. Nobody actually runs Linux from scratch.
Mm.
And then he's like, well, Arch. No, you don't. Well, I run Arch. Okay, well, what flavor of Arch do you run? I've been too busy. I actually run Linux Mint. You should have led with that.
Knowing Joe, he would have just got the job immediately if he said he ran
Right?
Linux Mint.
I think for me, it was 2 things. Like if there was a very specific requirement, like if you're hiring someone for an absolute skill, like a DBA or like, someone who has to know how to do that specific thing very well, then that's one thing. And obviously you're going to ask specific questions about that, probably geared toward exactly what you're expecting them to be able to do. But I think personality is as big a factor, like Joe's saying, simply because nobody wants to work with an asshole. Not the manager, not the people next to them, not the people under them if there are any, like not the customer. Like no matter how smart they are, no matter how capable and resourceful, if they're just a dick or some, you can't deal with it. So
Or they're going to
personality is
disappear in the middle of a freaking problem.
right. Well, that's a big one too. Are they going to stick with it and like actually fix something? My biggest thing was always like, my favorite question was,
If you walk away, it's not your problem.
What'd you say? What was your favorite question?
Was if you don't know something, what do you do? How do you handle a situation? That's a perfectly acceptable answer. I mean, if you're willing to take the time to educate yourself and learn how to fix something, you are a resourceful person and you're valuable. If you're just going to ask me, then that doesn't help me. And there's nothing wrong with asking me if it's something procedural or if you're very new or whatever. But if you've been here for a few months and you kind of already know how things work and you're still coming to me asking stupid questions, like, sorry, you're not actually helping. I need to know that you're someone who's going to take responsibility for your own education, your own, growth in terms of the subject matter, and be as independent as you can be without being a cowboy,
Yeah, see, the biggest problem I had with the questions they were asking me, like those type of behavior questions, is it's like any normal human being would just act like a normal human being whenever these situations came. So it's like,
but you would be surprised how many people don't respond the way you would think they would. It's incredible.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Or
They don't even know. They aren't even smart enough to lie and tell you what they think you want to hear.
Yeah.
Throw punch.
So they all seem like trick questions to me because I was like, this is fucking common sense. Yeah. How do you handle trouble? Or, like one of the questions was, what happens if you get into a confrontation with a coworker? And so I was like,
oh, well, that's different. That's weird. I don't.
So I was like, do you mean like an argument? Or I said, I don't really.
Are they armed?
Yeah. I don't. So I was like, I don't have confrontations with coworkers. I just talk to people like normal human beings talk to people. What the fuck are you talking about? That's what it makes me think they had a problem with the previous employee or something.
How did you respond to it? Is that
so I said, well, I don't really have confrontations with people at work. I said, I just talk to people just normal. If there's something we don't agree on, then we talk it out, and if we can't agree on it, then we agree to disagree. I mean, what do you think I'm going to say? I'm just going to pull a knife out and cut your throat or something? It's crazy,
I've had political conversations with people at work, and we have completely the opposite standpoint. But you know what we still have? A conversation.
Yeah.
We don't have to agree at the end of it.
That's what I'm wondering. If are they wanting me to say that I'm going to take them outside and whip their ass or something, or I'm going to resort to violence? I don't get some of these questions. That's why it's so odd for me that they'd be asking that. But maybe this is the landscape of tech now. Is that they have to weed out the psychopaths so they can get somebody normal in there. I don't know.
I think a lot of it is if you're going to want to work with the person. I mean, I hired somebody in November, and I get the resumes come directly to me. I always pre-screen people with a phone call, talk to them for 15 or 20 minutes, and then if that conversation goes well, I'll bring them in for an interview. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy people out there. There's a lot of this job offering we had who had over 150 people submit resumes for it. I called about 8 people, and 2 of them called me back. So,
oh, really?
Yep. So
wow.
Tons of people never returned phone calls. So
that's crazy.
I don't know what their deal is, but a lot of it
common.
is
do you see that a lot? Behavior like that?
Yeah, we've seen that a lot. I mean, we also have people applying for jobs that are 200 miles away, or they want to relocate, or from halfway across the country or something like that, and it's just not going to happen. But no, a lot of it is if I don't think I'm going to want to work with this person because I got 8 other people that work for me that I'm going to hear about this person being a jerk or something like that, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing. Is that what you're mainly looking for? Is somebody that's just easygoing and will be easy to relate to and things like that, or what?
yeah, somebody who can function in a team, somebody that has at least decent problem solving skills. I mean, where we work, we're an all Microsoft shop, so there's also a lot of crossover with our
And to
biomedical
think I actually liked
department.
you.
I was actually going to say you poor bastard, but okay.
Yeah,
Well, I
but
mean,
I mean,
that's
some
that's the norm now.
so yeah, some of this stuff is we have a lot of overlap with like biomedical stuff. So most people, unless you've worked in a hospital before that was in bed with all the same vendors we are, you're going to have to learn the stuff anyway. So there's a certain amount where you're going to have to figure it out, ask some questions, or deal with somebody who knows it already and be able to remember it the next time. So, some stuff you're just not going to come in knowing, and being able to figure it out and think on your feet is a big thing. Like I'd rather have somebody go out, work on something, mess it up even more than having to constantly come to me. What do I do now? What do I do now? I'm like, well, what did you try? Because if you say nothing, that's going to piss me off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I can ask people specific tech questions, but everything I work with is all in-house built. So unless they were employees at my company, they're not going to know this crap. So I can ask them general stuff. Have you worked with a scheduler before? Have you worked with optimization before? Have you done any scripting ever in your entire life? And yeah.
You want people
Yeah,
can think on their feet for sure.
Yeah, experience is something. I mean, it's not nothing, and there's definitely. Oh, we may want to wait till he gets back.
Did I go out?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Oh, I didn't know if you completely left. Yeah. Anyway,
no, something happened. Yeah.
Eric's
there you
frozen.
go.
Yeah.
Me?
No, you're not,
Not
frozen,
anymore.
Eric. You need to mute, Danny.
Okay.
Mute Jitsi.
Yeah.
There you go.
Can you see me?
No.
I can't
No.
either.
I got a
It's
black
all
screen.
black.
Actually,
Eric is still
Eric's
frozen
for me too.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I refreshed, because Eric was frozen.
He's not frozen for me.
Well, he's not frozen for me now either. Hang on. I gotta set my video.
Bordency thinks he's funny.
Maybe it'll do it now. There we go. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I'm
That's
sorry,
pretty good.
Eric. I didn't mean to interrupt you like that. You were frozen, so I couldn't see what you're saying. But, I could hear what you're saying, but I couldn't see you move or anything. Now I can't hear anything from you. Can y'all hear Eric?
No, sorry, I muted because.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah. I didn't mean to throw you out there.
I was. No, it's okay. So yeah, I mean, in education, certificates, all that kind of stuff, experience. It's not nothing, but it isn't everything. It isn't as important as. That's the thing I hate about like resume, job sites and stuff like that now is everything is just keywords. Everything's keyed off of like, do you have this thing? Is this one thing? Because you might have the best candidate in the world and they don't have one of the 10 stupid requirements that HR came up with, and you're never going to see them because they just immediately automatically get filtered out. And that's just dumb. But,
yeah, you would not believe the number of calls I get for ab initio, them thinking that I'm an ab initio developer. And it says in my resume that, I worked with SAP and ab initio and how they interacted with each other. So I didn't actually work with ab initio. I worked with SAP and the messaging involved with ab initio. And so, are you an ab initio developer? We need somebody with ab initio experience. Yeah, well, I don't have what you're looking for.
Right. Just because
read my resume.
Well, no. Nobody's going to read resumes. And listen, just like Lovecraft said, I mean, it's a toss up, finding that good candidate. But anyway, the longer version that I was going to go down the path of is like Joe was saying, like relevant skills, if you understand enough about somebody's history and background, or the fact that they were at least smart enough to complete a certificate, I don't expect them to remember a lot of it because nobody does. You kind of cram for those things. You sort of, some of it you just know because it's something you might be doing. If you're a network professional, of course, you're going to be able to pass. You should be able to pass, with a little bit of study, some sort of a network certification. But the point being that, can you learn? Can you actually perform when you need to, which is all that a test is really doing? And, are you, resourceful enough to do those things? And also to the point we were saying earlier, are you able to stick with it long enough to finish something? And so, yeah, I mean, it's so hard. It is so hard because it's individual. It really does come down to the individual, which again is why I think this modern system of having, parsing resumes being like the first foot in the door is such a bad idea for a lot of people. Because again, either you're going to get discredited or disregarded simply because of something not being optimized the right way. Or like Joe's saying, you're going to get picked up for something that doesn't even relate to you. So it is a very time consuming thing to find the right person. That is 100% true. So I know this isn't really helping you.
Yeah. So here's what I was going to do. If I don't get this job, there's another place that I'm looking at that's kind of my backup plan, that it's the same kind of position. It's a bigger company, but I haven't submitted my resume to them, electronically yet anyway, because what I was planning on doing is just going in person to their home office. That way they can see I'm not a fucking nut and don't have to just throw my resume in the trash or whatever because they're looking for a certain skill set or whatever that I forgot to put on my resume, So maybe this will help with the whole personality test thing. And if it doesn't, so what? At least I gave it a shot. But it's a nice company. I wouldn't mind working there. So that's kind of my backup plan. I don't want to send them my resume yet. I just want to go there and deliver it in person, dress nice, be relaxed and seem like
Bring
a good
bouquet
guy.
of flowers.
Yeah, some flowers.
You're gonna take Lovecraft's idea and just go with the chaps?
Yeah, I should go with the chaps. Yeah. I know that's what they like.
The assless chaps.
Assless chaps. Yep.
Nothing to hide.
That's right.
So yeah, that's my backup plan because honestly, the way they were asking me these questions, it sounds like like Joe was saying, they just want to make sure that you're not a psycho and you can work with the team, and I didn't realize that there was that many people, like y'all said, that don't even have basic social skills,
Have you ever seen what people look like in open source?
Well, see, that's the thing. I work in such a small company that I'm not exposed to those kind of people. Now I will admit, at the hackerspace I go to, yeah, there's some fucking weirdos up there, and they all work in tech. And
have you ever heard of programming socks?
No. What is programming socks?
Okay, so you're not as involved yet.
Have you ever heard of Grippy Sock Jail?
What's programming socks?
Yeah.
Take a look. You'll be excited. You might want to get yourself a pair.
You have to tell me. Or is it something I have to see?
No, it's not that bad. It's mainly what you'll have is a bunch of let me make sure I'm you know what, I'm going to leave out the other terms because I don't want to get in trouble, but certain individuals buy these socks. They're like thigh-high socks, right?
Oh, I see them.
Yeah, and they go all the way up, and they have the individual toes on them, and they have a lot of the times they're striped or something like that.
Yeah, they're
and,
all striped. So what the fuck do these have to do with programming?
I'm not going to say it, but you can find out. It's just I don't want to end up in any kind of trouble if I say the wrong thing.
It's a very niche thing. Just look it up. You'll see it.
Yeah.
Minix, did HR give you any tests or anything to take during the pre-interview stuff?
So the first interview was with HR. They didn't give me any tests or anything like that. She just asked me like a ton of questions and basically asked me, you know, my experience and what are my interests outside of work and things like that, and how long, you know, how long I've been with my present company, and just basic HR questions, but no test. The second interview was the more technical one, and there weren't any tests in that one either.
Our HR has this like 50 question thing you have to answer, and it's supposed to determine personality traits like how driven you are and all this other nonsense and stuff like that. And it puts people in all these like different categories and stuff, and it's always horrifically wrong.
Yeah. No, but a lot of the reason that I do, you know, the more personality-based questions is because I have a very small team, and we all rely on each other heavily. And, you know, somebody gets sick and I need somebody to cover second shift and I'm not available to do it. Who can I call? It's like the other day I had two people sick on first shift. So it was me by myself on first shift. And that's an insane amount of work trying to juggle all that. So I was able to call one of my second shift people and say, hey, can you come in like 2 hours early and leave 2 hours earlier, take a 3-hour lunch or whatever, and just help me out on this morning stuff. And, you know, dropped everything, jumped right online.
So I'm looking at programming socks on Walmart.com, and they're like these thigh-high socks with stripes on them. Like even Walmart.com is in on the joke, and I never even heard of this. So I'm going to take a guess that they are women's thigh-high socks that men like to wear. Am I close, Scotty?
Yeah, you're up there.
Okay. And perhaps they like to wear other women's clothing too, and maybe even pretend that they're women or believe that they're women.
Well, we have a lot of cat girls in the programming world as well.
Okay, well there you go. No, I don't have any programming socks to answer your question.
Well, that would have aced the interview right there if you had some.
I just warned them.
Assless jobs and programming socks.
So, well, you guys answered what was my core basic question was why are they asking these kind of questions? And I think that, yeah, I wasn't aware that there's that many people out there that apply for these jobs that don't have really any grasp on basic social skills or
there's a lot of them that are
normality.
Not necessarily somewhat antisocial people, or people who are they usually sit by themselves somewhere in a dark basement playing around on computers, and they don't know how to deal with other people very well. And so, I mean, asking people like that bluntly, I'm not sure who would just be like, yeah, I would absolutely freak out on that person or whatever, or in a job interview, and not just straight up fucking lie and be like, no, I would try to do everything perfectly right, and I would not get into any confrontations in the interview. And then, once they get actually involved with other people, freak out and whatever.
Well, Eric said you'd be surprised at what these people say during the interviees.
Yeah, you got to catch the low-hanging fruit, though. That's what that is. Catching the low-hanging fruit. Get them out of there early.
Yeah. See if they're honestly crazy people.
Yes, so anyway,
what type of technical questions did they ask, though?
So most of it was networking related. It's a sysadmin job, and so a lot of it has to do with They're an Azure, Microsoft Azure company. I mean, that's their process. So a lot of it has to do with securing networks, securing virtual servers, securing whatever. The thing is, I had to get these 2 security certs because they're also a government contractor, and I guess it's written into whatever contract they make with the government, and so a lot of it was like mainly keeping information within the company. So, and things like what would I do to disallow access from like specific hardware like USB keys and things like that, and how would I set up the network so that it's aware of outside influence and just weird security questions like that. A lot of most of the technical questions had to do with security. You know, how would I secure remote servers from infiltration, like, you know, which is, you know, pretty basic. You just use public private key or you use SSO, stuff like that. You disallow passwords, you know, things like that. So I don't think they were really much concerned with like how I would actually you know, script things or how I would push out updates or anything like that. The main concern seemed to be, how do I keep people from getting in, and how do I keep maybe what do you call people who are like insiders that are bad actors or something like that from getting information out that they shouldn't be getting out, things like that.
Exfiltration.
Yeah, so it was a lot of like just that kind of as far as technical questions go, it mainly had to do with that kind of security level stuff.
So did they ask anything along the lines of how do you, like, what's your own personal policy for making sure that you stay up to pace on best practices?
No, they didn't ask that. They asked about my troubleshooting methodology, though. Like if something goes wrong, like they asked, say if you did find someone on the network or a device on the network that shouldn't be there, what do you do if you are having trouble reaching a remote server and you believe it's because of a bad actor? What do you do? Things like that. Also about like quarantining devices that have been compromised, you know, basically taking them off the network as soon as possible, and then how do you trace that and stuff like that. Which actually those two certs I got did help a lot. Security Plus and Security X. Those CompTIA certs, they were fucking cheap, but they did help me with that. So I'm glad I took them, but they were required anyway for the job. But I'm sure it's like what y'all were saying, you know, if you kind of forget all that stuff, but then once you start actually working in that position, you learn what you need to do as you work and are trained. So
is this going to be considered an entry-level position?
No, this is so they have, I guess they have 3 tiers. They have like help desk, they have IT administrator, and then they have sysadmin. As far as like working tiers, then you have management positions outside of that. But I didn't really want a management position, so sysadmin is what I'm going for.
See, that's kind of the plus and minus when it comes to those certs. The plus being that it's all you have to do is basically study for these things and then take a test. The minus being that it costs a lot for these tests. You have to go to a certain place to take the tests. So somebody on here was talking about how they took one recently and they had to like they had a door behind them and they had to prove to the person.
Yeah,
that was me for the ITIL test. I would never recommend taking one in your home. If you get like a dickhead proctor, you're going to be screwed. If you live in an area, I mean, you should be near like a testing center or something. Like a lot of colleges and have them and stuff like that, where you can go and just get, you know, it'll be all set up for you. It's real easy to do at a testing center.
Yeah, that's where I went.
I'm pretty sure they didn't, you know, do the remote testing when I got ITIL certified 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, I didn't have any option. That the testing center near me didn't offer it, and it's like, I know it's like a British cert now, and like it was like even the testing times were messed up with the difference in the time zones and stuff. And the guy was like really nuts.
Yeah, well, for me, the closest ones are about 45 minutes to an hour away. So it's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but I mean, if I'm going to go pay the money and do it, and the other thing is the certs nowadays are only good for like 3 years, and that's a fucking pain in the balls too. So if you get the cert and then you don't get a job in the next 3 years with it, There's ones that were good forever, and then now like the CompTIA ones used to be good forever, and now they're only good for 3 years.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
my A plus cert, my Network Plus, both of those certs I took before the cutoff,
Right.
so I don't have to renew those. But these 2 security certs I had to renew every 3 years.
Yeah,
But-
some of them can renew other ones. Like if you had like the new track of A plus and Net plus, and you got Security Plus last, Security Plus would bring A plus and Net plus current with when you got your Security Plus, so it would renew them. It's like a renew / continuing education piece for them.
Yeah, I think Security X renews all my certs. Like if I needed to renew A plus and Network Plus, I know it renews Security Plus, and it'll renew those other 2. So that's really the only one I have to worry about, Security X. Now, if I got sysadmin, I think that renews everything. I'm pretty sure almost everything that CompTIA offers. But that's a whole nother deal.
Just as a quick aside, do you think there's real value in the shorter duration of validity for certification, or is it just a money grab?
Money
Yes.
grab.
No, I think I think there is value.
You know,
Well,
I was going to say that there's
in
value to the company.
Yeah, well, CompTIA is a nonprofit too. Did y'all know that?
No, I didn't. I had no idea.
Yeah, so they're a nonprofit, so I don't really know what their money would go to, but I mean they're kind of the industry standards with those kind of certs. You know, ITIL is like a kind of like help desk stuff. I think it's mainly like managing ticketing software. Isn't that what it is, Lovecraft?
It's kind of like IT processes and stuff, and they're on the ITIL 4 now, so they've kind of changed around things. But ITIL is, to be honest, it's basically just a bunch of word salad and trying to get you to standardize on processes and stuff like that. The questions are, yeah, you kind of just got to figure it out and wing it. But it's not super hard to get, but I don't know that it's got a lot of value for me, at least personally.
Yeah, I have seen it though as a requirement for jobs.
Yep.
ITIL certification.
It seems like that's what they're all meant to do, is make sure that you're all speaking the same language, though. I don't see that all of the certs are like really challenging. It's just making sure that you're familiar with the different terms that'll be thrown at you.
Man, Security X was hard, dude. That was a hard cert.
Well, that one, yeah.
When you go through the information is very general information. Then you sit on these tests. The tests are a fucking pain in the balls. Like they throw absolutely everything that's even close to it. Where you're like, there's usually at least 1 or 2 that look very close to what the answer is. Maybe I just don't fucking test right then.
No, that's
test
true.
Well, because
That
there's so many times I just sat there and said, like, okay, most of these seem right. I gotta read this question and try to figure out what exactly it is in this question that they're looking for, because most of this seems pretty right to what what would answer the question. And so I spent 10 minutes staring at one fucking question on it, like a 300 question thing. And
Yep. Now there might be like a keyword or a context clue in there that helps point you to the right answer. But yeah, for sure that's the way they're worded. And then CompTIA has some of the performance-based questions too, which are always interesting, where you might be drag and dropping or rearranging or filling in, doing some additional stuff.
Dropped into a Windows command line that I haven't been in since I was fucking
for
DOS.
Some of them is a little clunky sometimes too.
Yeah.
I think that the way they do it, CompTIA anyway, is they expect, so they had different modules that you go through to get your certs. They expect you to spend 1 week on each module. So like Security X was, I think, 16 modules, but I knocked it out in 4 weeks. And so I was just fucking cramming, and I barely passed the exam, but I got it done. I got it out of the way.
They don't ask you your score in the interview.
No, it's always just pass or fail. And but I saw my score afterwards, and it wasn't good. I was just barely on the line. I was above the line, but I passed. But but I think this was Eric's point a minute ago, is if you can just, a lot of times they want to know if you can just start something and stick with it, see it through. And I think a lot of the certs are like that, because they're built, with these big list of modules, and supposedly 1 week per module. Like I can't remember how many. I remember A+ was split up into two certs, I believe. Isn't it? Isn't A plus 2? It's been so long.
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah,
2 now.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
and so
back
you
in-
know.
Back in 19, I passed the 1001, but I never got a chance to try to go for the 10 for the was it 1002.
Isn't one
And
like
so it's
hardware
already-
and one software?
It used to be that way. It's not necessarily
different
split that
now?
way anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, and so you know they I forgot how say it's like 10 or 15 models a piece. So they're saying what they expect is 1 week per module. So if you can stick with this A plus for 20 weeks, see it through, and get your
20
cert.
weeks.
Well, I'm just I don't know how many modules it is, but you know, 1 week per module is what they tell you. And so I guess an employee would
Well,
see
how
that and
much does
say
the test cost?
he's stuck with. Oh man, Security X. How much did I pay for that? That was the expensive one.
I think ITIL was like $379, and then
My
they
company
had
paid for it.
Yeah, but they had a special offer for an extra $99. You could get an extra voucher in case you failed it, which I thought was just terrible. It was like, but you didn't get your $99 back if you passed it on the first time.
Gambling.
So with the A plus is $250 per test, so total of $500.
Yeah, I think Net Plus and Security Plus are like 3 and change.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I think it was either 3 something or 400 for that stupid Security X test. Anyway,
Yeah.
I spent $700 or $800 for both these certs, safety exams.
Yeah, but going back, I mean, I passed the 1001, but that's already it's 2019. I passed it, so it's expired, so it doesn't fucking mean anything
you'd
anymore.
have to take both of them.
I'd have to take both again.
Jason
Oh my
Dion.
god, the A plus is so boring.
So much Windows in it too,
Oh.
and stupid things like what are the system requirements for to install Windows fucking 10 or something.
Oh, Security Plus was a lot of Windows stuff. I was surprised. Security X was universal, so it wasn't OS specific, but Security Plus was, yeah.
The only
annoying.
time taking certifications I think are interesting is when you're young and you're just starting out, and they really help you sort of point to areas that maybe you don't know. You know what I mean? Once you've done them and you're retaking them, it's just agonizing, because it's like, I already know how to do this. Yes, I don't know that specific factoid, but you know, that it gets obnoxious at that point. But I actually appreciated doing all of them early on in my career, because it really did help me grow in the way that I think they're intended to do. But that's why I asked the question about the cash grab versus utility of it, because 3 years, yeah, I mean, a lot changes in 3 years. But like Joe said, so many companies, the software is developed specifically either in-house or for a company specifically by like a third-party vendor. And yeah, I mean, sure, there are companies using some off-the-shelf software. And yes, I mean, you know, you will use certain pieces of software that that is mainstream. But by and large, like, you know, if you don't know how to, nobody knows how to do those things until they're in that company doing those things. And you know, a certification doesn't really, whether it was 3 years ago or 10 years ago, it doesn't really tell you anything. Again, back to the point about, it just shows that you're willing to learn and able to take a test.
Yeah, I think mainly it's about motivation. How motivated and driven are you to take this seriously?
I mean, if you actually were learning new stuff, like if they looked at like, okay, what was this certification, like the A plus stuff or whatever, or the plus, you know, certifications, what was this like last year versus this year? What was it like 3 years ago versus what it is now? Are there things in there that are actually relevant? And it's almost like there should be 2 tracks, right? Beginner and someone who's already had the certification, and you're recertifying. You know what I mean?
And honestly, you can take 2 different companies that are using the exact same pieces of software, exact same ticketing system, exact same backend, and they're both going to have extremely different processes. Different things work for different companies. So even if you know the tools, yes, that's helpful, but you're still going to have to go in and sit down and learn how they want it done.
Oh boy, Lovecraft just posted a link in the Matrix. CompTIA is about to be bought by a HIG Capital and Tama Bravo.
Yeah, it sounds like test prices are going up.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
it says CompTIA will, following the closing of the transaction, CompTIA will operate as a for-profit company under HIG and Tama Bravo's ownership.
And I cannot bring myself to care about how far you can bend fiber optic cable.
Its existing membership-based nonprofit organization will be separated from CompTIA and continue its mission of service to the IT industry. Well, I wonder if that means that the testing part is still nonprofit. I don't know. Regardless, that just means it's going to get real shitty probably. And if you want to get a cert, you better do it soon.
To Eric's point, when he was mentioned earlier about whether it was worth it to renew or not, my thought process on it is like you want everything that you start to have like a start and an end, right? Like a sunset. And for individuals working in a company, some people will get complacent, and as time goes on, they're not able to say keep up. And this is like that automatic sunset for you. If you just for whatever reason can't take that test again, you can't hang on to that knowledge. Well, this helps clean the roster. So that's my way of thinking about it.
Oh, I'm all for like doing it if your employer pays for it and they just want to make sure that you're still motivated enough. But as far as like having certs just to qualify to work somewhere, that's a little more ambiguous, I think, like as far as knowledge goes. Because I think either Eric or Joe, one of y'all said that once you study and get the exam out of the way, usually you just pretty much forget everything that you crammed for. So
let me ask you this: do you think you could sit down right now and knock out a day plus cert?
no, because from what I remember, it's mostly. Is it Windows centric?
There's a lot of Windows.
Yeah,
A lot of memorizing ports and stuff that you can easily look up, and yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I deal with Active Directory at work and some Windows Server stuff, and like I can, if I have to, I can still do the whole help desk thing if people have problems. But I mean, I'm so far removed from Windows now that if it's Windows centric like it used to be, then there's no way I could pass it. No way.
Right. So if you're at your job, and most jobs, like to Joe's point, you're not doing like the normal stuff. You're doing stuff that's more centric to whatever that company is, and then they go, okay, you have to renew your cert in this, and you're looking at this going, this is all general knowledge, sure, but this is not anything I do on a daily basis. And if my job is required to keep up with learning all this crap again, I think that's kind of crap.
Well, see, that's where Lugcast's point came in, is stacking certs. So if you stack certs and you get, like, I got the Security X cert, all I got to do is retake that, and that renews everything that I have, So if you can do that, it's a lot less of a fucking headache. If all you've got is A+, say, for instance, and then you have to renew that in 3 years, yeah, it's going to fucking suck because everybody hates Windows,
Yeah, I'm not sure the CompTIA's test questions either are very accurate representations of real world problems. I mean, they seem to have a very textbook feel to them, but I mean, I do this kind of stuff on a day-to-day basis, and I don't see a whole lot of overlap, in what they're asking, and this is the problem that the help desk encountered today. It's not always exactly like that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. It's not important. Just want to make it a second.
I was just going to say, how old are you, Hunky?
45.
45. I was going to say it might be worth it.
You don't look a day over 50.
I don't know. I thought you were 39 for some reason.
No, and actually, so my brother works for a town, and the person who does, they have a county for there's a job for the county IT department, and he had me meet up with one of the women who works for the county IT. And I talked with her for a while, and like all three, and between my brother and her, they're like, apply for the job. I'm like, I can tell you right now, on paper, I look absolutely fucking horrible because I don't have anything really worth. Just try to word it as best you can and put it in there. All right, fine. So I put it in there. I'm not expecting anything because I've sent so many over the years. I've sent so many fucking what's it called? Resumes out there and stuff. Yeah. Resumes out there, and it's just fucking nothing. So I'm not really holding my breath with this. I'm hoping that, at the very least, maybe because she works for, she works for the town, she can kind of say, hey, I spent about 10 minutes talking with this guy, and he seems to know what the fuck he's talking about. Maybe I can at least get through the front door. But, I'm not holding my breath.
Well, so what I did when I first started is, and I don't know if you have this kind of time or not, but I volunteered for like a Dallas Animal Shelter for their IT stuff, and I volunteered for I think AIDS Center of Dallas for their website stuff. So I had things I could put on my resume that showed I at least have. This is before I had any tech or career going, and so I had something at least.
You know what I put down as the way I can show what I know tech stuff.
Don't tell me you put
You're
the
a
Lugcast
podcaster.
down.
Yeah, I did.
Oh my god!
If that's what you got to work with, that's what you got to work with.
That's
You'll
what I
never
got
get
to
hired.
work with. Hey, I do the website. I do the audio stuff.
Hey, hello.
Hey,
Oh, there's Netminer.
Hey, Ned.
Yeah, I
Hawk,
had-
one other thing. If you send
had a
a
bunch
cover
of-
letter, I'd suggest sending a cover letter. It's very rarely do I see cover letters coming with resumes.
Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't think about
I
that.
did.
Yeah.
I did a cover letter too. Actually, my brother suggested I take some of my information and throw it into ChatGPT and have it spit something out that looks like formal. I did that, and it worked out okay. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. It looks pretty good and formal. I'm still
There you
shoving it
go.
out there. Use that for my cover letter, and like the I don't know. There's a little spot at the front at the beginning of it where you just kind of give like a quick summary of yourself.
There's got to be some kind of cover letter generator website out there.
Before you go forward, what we have to do, like this is mandatory, we got to get an AI rendering of Joe eating that zebra cake just now. And it's got remember the old school Will Smith eating spaghetti video that they did with the AI back in the day? Like I think that was one of the first iterations of AI that came out. How it was like super amorous and goofy. We need one of those of Joe eating that zebra cake.
It was delicious.
It looked good.
What were you saying that?
Well, by the time we have our next meeting, I will be a year older.
Happy birthday.
Happy early birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Me too. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
That's the happy birthday that I wanted. Yeah, Elle, I hope my gifts are keeping you warm.
Thank you so much.
Oh, there's a open source cover letter generator. I'll put it in the matrix here. Looks like you can just upload your resume and it'll generate a cover letter. Or a text prompt. Write about your skills and experience. There you go. So, did we want to talk about Proxmox? Oh, go ahead, Honky. What else?
I was going to say is that's kind of why I asked you what you wore to an interview, because I didn't know whether you would dress full of. If I get an interview, should I go for like the full suit and tie and like I would for a wedding?
Yes. Yes.
Well, like I would for a wedding, or do I do more like khaki and?
No, for
shirt
HR meeting.
Yeah, go for
Yes,
the
you
No,
wear a suit.
first
Suit and tie.
meeting,
Yep.
suit. Definitely suit.
Got it.
Even if it's a video interview,
Mm-hmm.
do the suit.
pants optional.
They will. They will.
Pants are optional if it's a video interview, yes. but suit and
Suggested
tie.
the assless chaps.
Actually,
it
there's a-
doesn't
there's a
hurt,
good-
and it can only help.
Yeah.
There's
And
a
plus
good,
the word, remember you were a sharp dresser. That kind of stands out. You know?
It could also be a good indicator of your dedication. You ask someone, I can see you're wearing a shirt and tie or a suit. Could you please stand up for me?
Your wiener's just hanging out. Just
And if the
helicopter for
person
them.
says,
Free ball.
I'd rather not.
No, do it anyway in helicopter.
Nice.
You know you're already not getting the job.
Hired on
So
the
you might as well make it fun.
Gents, this is some of us may not be used to our language yet.
Or you can show off your programming socks too. That should get you the job.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, there you go.
Speaking of which, I'm going to Amazon right now.
Get your new pair.
I posted the Reddit link for how it all began with those programmer socks. Evidently, it's a trans thing.
I was trying not to go there, but now
or a cross-dresser thing.
Where'd you post it?
In the show notes.
Oh, okay.
And then under that, I posted something that Mordency should get for L. It helps me in the winter.